covering climate, weather, and the industrial enterprise from Penn State Meteorology. Here is Up in the Air.
Welcome to another episode of Up in the Air, the second episode of our spring 2018 season. And this episode airs the weekend after the Eagles claimed victory in the Super Bowl. Logan, did you get a chance to watch the Super Bowl last weekend?
I did get a chance, and it was definitely a very entertaining time. The Super Bowl halftime show was definitely very entertaining. Justin Timberlake performed on the show, and he performed some of his greatest hits. It was definitely a neat experience to watch, and also that kid that got a selfie up in the stands, that was definitely a moment he's going to remember.
Absolutely. That was an exciting game, an exciting halftime show as well. As a big JT fan, I definitely echo that sentiment. And we did see the Philadelphia Eagles emerge victorious, and we actually have one of the prides of Philadelphia here. Mike Sesko, our newest member of the Up in the Air team, joins us at the Climate Wall later.
And we do have a full show ahead of you for you guys. We do have stories coming up on grapevines, polar bears, and Star Wars.
And we'll have all that and more. But first, here's Update in the Air. Recent studies by professors at Cornell University have found that coral in the Asian Pacific is littered with over 11 billion pieces of plastic. This amount of plastic could stretch around the Earth at least 14 times. This is also causing the coral to become diseased. Coral with plastic on it was nearly 20 times more likely to be diseased. Unsurprisingly, the countries that were the worst at dealing with the disposal of plastic were the ones with the most plastic on the coral. When researchers did find plastic on coral, 90% of the time, it showed signs of disease. Part of the reason is because plastic attracts bacteria that can infect the coral. In addition, plastic can block sunlight, which is essential for coral. In contrast, Australia, which works hard to prevent plastics from entering the ocean, sees less disease associated with pollution of its coral reefs. Many countries are focusing on protecting coral reefs from the ever-changing climate and warming waters, but it is also necessary to protect coral from the plastic pollution to keep it healthy and long-lived.
According to scientists, shrinking sea ice can be linked to polar bears starving. Studies say that the bears have far higher energy demands than previously thought. Tracking collars were attached to their bodies in order to record activity. Data analysis of the bear's metabolism explained that they require at least one seal every 10 days to satisfy dietary needs. Though many of the bears were unable to capture enough food due to living conditions in many iceless land masses. As temperatures rise and ice melts, polar bears are required to travel further distances for finding food, while burning more calories. A photographer, Paul Nicolin, who captured the images of these bears, said, "When scientists say bears are going to be extinct, I want people to realize what it looks like. Bears are going to starve to death."
France has been experiencing its heaviest rains in over 50 years as flooding has caused the Seine River to overflow its banks in Paris. Meteo France, the nation's weather service, says that the rain received has been double the January average for the month. Water levels in Paris are about 4 times higher than normal as well. Still, it is well below the record level set in 1910. France is also much more equipped to handle the floods the nation sees fairly often. While Paris is just dealing with some minor road closures, some other towns along the Seine do have it worse. Around 242 towns are experiencing flooding in some capacity in France, and the waters are not expected to recede for days, possibly even weeks. Seasonal floods are typical in France, but this year many towns are facing more damage as waters reach maximums in these areas.
After years of study, grapevines in Napa, California and Bordeaux, France never reached lethal levels of dehydration from seasonal droughts. Scientists at the French National Institute have determined just how resilient the plants are. According to the study, grapevines lost most of their leaves only when their ability to circulate water and nutrients was reduced by 50%. This was caused by low water pressure throughout the plant circulation within the roots and the stems. When plants do become dehydrated, air bubbles develop within the plant's tissue, which is fatal to the plant, halting nutrient transportation. Now, knowing that the grapevine's response to dehydration is better than previously thought, this could help vineyards conserve water and lessen the stress of rainfall needed as climatic patterns change in the future.
In 1977, Star Wars captured the imagination of many, inspiring people to imagine what technology we may have in the future. A team of researchers at Brigham Young University are trying to recreate one of the many famous gadgets from the movie. In a project affectionately called the Princess Leia Project, they've developed a way to project 3D images that appear to float in thin air. Using lasers to trap and manipulate the tiny particles in free space, the engineers created so-called volumetric displays of a butterfly and a prism. This is similar to the holograms that were featured in Star Wars. Holograms, or 3D projections onto 2D surfaces, do exist, however. These researchers are trying to improve the technology. Currently, you can only see the projections from one angle, but the Princess Leia project will not be projected onto a 2D surface, making it visible from any angle. Right now, the projections are very small, but researchers hope to someday make life-size projections.
New research published in Nature Geoscience has found that climate engineering that modifies the properties of the land surface in highly populated and agricultural areas over North America, Europe, and Asia could reduce extreme temperatures by up to 2 to 3 degrees Celsius. Modifications that could help reduce these temperatures include lightning buildings and roads. They also list in no-till agriculture and changing crops as well. These methods have already been tested and are proven to work. Unlike injecting aerosols into the atmosphere, these methods have fewer risks for the environment's health and safety. They mentioned that there are many other climate solutions out there, but these can definitely be used to help in the slightest with mitigation and adaptation with global warming. Welcome back to the show.
We now have a feature by James Enlow on the importance of a winter snowpack.
Snow. Some people love it, while others hate it. But the truth is, snow is vital to the water supply in certain regions such as the Pacific coast of California. The people here rely on the accumulation of snow high in the mountains during the winter. This snowpack is vital for a number of things, such as winter sports, summertime activities, but most importantly, water. As the snowpack slowly melts in the spring and summer, the water contributes to California's 287 hydrogeneration plants. These plants make up 20% of the total electricity generation for the state and are highly dependent on reservoir water levels. Because of this dependency, when California was in its fourth year of severe drought, the electricity production from hydrogeneration plants were cut in half to 10%. The state of California stated that the decrease in reservoir levels was directly related to the small snowpack in 2014. The decrease in snowpack was caused by lower than average precipitation during the early months of 2014, but the coming months didn't get much better. With above normal temperatures for the summer and yet again below average snowfall in the winter, the snowpack reached its lowest point in 500 years in 2015. This left the mountains relatively bare, not able to provide needed water to the residents of Western California. With widespread exceptional drought to start the dry season, it seemed that there was no light at the end of the tunnel. The drought caused residents to conserve water in extreme ways and cost local communities millions. By late 2016, the weather pattern changed and the snowpack slowly recovered. With above average precipitation in the early months of 2017, the snowpack is now almost 200% above normal, bringing confidence to local officials that this drought may be over. This drought proved to many Californians just how vital the snow high in the mountains is to their everyday life. For Up in the Air, I'm James Enlow.
Welcome back to the show. So Logan, we had a couple of chances to see some snow this past week after a pretty disappointing December and January, at least if you are a snow fan, which I am.
Oh yeah, I definitely am too. And I mean, over the course of the past few months, a lot of the areas across the United States have seen some significant snowfall, but here in State College, we really haven't seen too much in terms of snow. Luckily, over the Super Bowl weekend, we did get to have a few inches of snow here on the ground, and also Wednesday brought us a decent amount of snow here in the Happy Valley as well.
Yeah, before those two storms, we were around 50% of our average snowfall to this point in the winter, so me and Logan are both enjoying that. I know someone else who also enjoys snow. Our newest member of the Up in the Air team, Mike Susko, is here. Mike, I know you want to see some snow in the forecast, so what can you tell us?
You're right. I definitely want to see snow in the forecast, and luckily, we will see it on Saturday. But first, let's take a look at the current climate info here for Pennsylvania. Here in State College, we're looking at an average high of 36 this time of year. Our average low right now is a 21. Back in 1925, we set a record high of 57, and in 1977, we saw a record low here of -6. Taking a look at the temperature outlook for February 13th through the 19th, you can see here in the western part of the country, especially in Southern California, we're going to see above normal temperatures here, and then we're also going to see them up in North Dakota and also Minnesota as well. Down in southern Texas, we will see a little bit of a chill here with some below normal temperatures, but we're also going to have above normal temperatures here in State College as well, just slightly, as you can see from these tan colors. As far as precipitation goes, we're going to have a dry period here out in the west, especially in Northern California and Oregon. But as far as precip goes, we're going to see it mostly in Texas as well, and southern New Mexico right here with those darker greens, having a little bit of above precipitation. Here back home in Pennsylvania, though, we're not expecting as much as in terms of precipitation at all. As far as averages go, it's going to be pretty much normal for this time of year. As far as the drought monitor, it looks like we're seeing that we have most of a little bit of a drought here in the southwestern part, just abnormally dry here in Nevada. For the most part, a few areas are in a slight drought. We have a bit of red here just to east of Phoenix, so they're a little bit dry as well. The panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma is a little bit abnormally dry, as you can see again from those reds. Dallas is currently in those orange colors here. But back here at home, we're on the eastern side of the state. We're seeing a little bit of abnormally dry conditions with these yellows and a little bit of tans up in the Poconos. As far as snow depth goes for the country, you can see most of the snow is going to be up here in Montana near Billings as well, and we're just going to see a little bit coming down here into Wyoming. And also back here at home, thanks to those few storms that came past last Sunday and Wednesday, most of the state is seeing a bit of snow covers. Only a little bit down here in the Philadelphia County is not having any snow at this point, but most of the snow is going to be up in the Poconos, especially around Scranton, and also a little bit more of the heavier snowfall depths up here in New Hampshire and Vermont. As far as your forecast for this weekend goes, Saturday looks like we're going to have a wintry mix because temperatures are going to be just enough above freezing where we could get a little bit of rain in, so we're going to go back and forth between rain and snow. But Logan and Chris, it looks like Sunday we're not going to have snow, but we will have precipitation as temperatures will be in the low 40s.
Well, Mike, at least we do have the chance to see some snow this weekend. Thank you, and welcome to the Up in the Air team. Well, that's all we have on the show today. I'm Chris Landolfi.
And I'm Logan Westrope.
Join us next week, Up in the Air.